I didn't have to view what you just viewed, so I'm glad I didn't. But I think that we need to have truth prevail. And so today we're going to be exposing, we've already exposed with that video, I think, this idea of a book ban in Florida, that somehow they don't want books in the library. That's a hoax. And that's really a nasty hoax, because it's a hoax in service of trying to pollute and sexualize our children. So we have seen over many weeks. So first of all, I think that video, I think some of the news had to cut the feed because it's graphic.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who is doing something that I think is extremely politically savvy. But this is par for the course when it comes to Ron DeSantis, because the guy, in my opinion, has mastered the art of politics, okay? The art of how to sway and control public opinion, which is very important when the whole mainstream liberal media establishment is against you simply because you are a Republican that people in the state of Florida tend to like, okay? That's why he won in a landslide election victory, is because the guy is doing a great job. He's the best governor / administrator in the country, and it's not even close. Not even close. So that being said, there's been an attack on Ron DeSantis, as you guys know, in which you have the mainstream liberal media accusing Ron DeSantis of banning books, right? Banning books. However, this is a lie, okay? The mainstream liberal media tries to paint it that Ron DeSantis is banning so many books that kids should have access to that they should be reading. You would think he's banning books like, I don't know, Holes, or he's banning Judy B. Jones or Harry Potter, or, the dictionary, right? Yeah, you would think he's just banning books from being in school, period. But they're not talking specifically about what books he's banning, because if you actually get into the conversation about the books that are being banned, you would think that a decent society would agree that, yeah, we shouldn't have these books in school. That, yes, there are some books that actually should be banned in school, particularly like those books that contain adult content, explicit adult content.
Today, we saw some things that many people would consider to be jaw-dropping and offensive images that we just cannot show on television. The governor says it doesn't belong in schools either.
These books are clearly not just conversation starters about the birds and the bees.
The press conference began with a 5-minute video showing books with sexually explicit content found in Florida schools, like Flamer and Gender Queer. These books were reported by parents and then ultimately removed. Governor Ron DeSantis and his education commissioners say with good reason. They say the state isn't banning books, they're removing porn.
I just think parents, when they're sending their kids to school, they should not have to worry about this garbage being in the schools.
Removing clear instances of pornography and sexually explicit materials, often within arm's reach of our youngest kids, is not book banning.
In Florida, school districts are responsible for determining what's appropriate. Pursuant to a new law passed last year, all books must now be reviewed by a specialist. Parents can object. After the process plays out, any book that has been removed must be reported to the Florida Department of Education. I put in a public records request and found thus far 175 books have been removed in Florida. 151, the majority, have been deemed to contain pornographic material.
Even if this pornography comes in cartoon form, it's still not okay for our kids.
I think reasonable minds can agree that inappropriate books should not be in our libraries.
State Senator Chevron Jones, a Democrat from Miami, says it's bigger than that. He says some books that are important to the Black community have also been removed.
The truth is that there is a narrative that, unfortunately, that the governor and the Republicans have started that is giving them this excuse to ban books because they believe that it is indoctrinating students or banning books because it's pushing an ideology. And in turn, they're banning books of significance.
So I did talk with the senator late today. He mentioned specific books that have been deemed to be problematic in Florida, and we're looking into those titles, the content next, and to see if any action has been taken by any school districts. So some more work to do on my part there.
And we're not through the finish line here at all, because all of these schools have to report. There's a deadline here, right?
Yeah, that's right. June 30th is the deadline. School districts must tell the Florida Department of Education all the books that have been removed. I mentioned in the story that 175 books have been removed so far, but that is only with 23 school districts responding to a voluntary survey. But June 30th, this is not voluntary. All this information must be handed over, and then we'll get to see it too.
We're not going to put up with narrative pornographic accounts or pictorial pornographic accounts.
But Reagan Miller with the Florida Freedom to Read Project pushed back, accusing the governor of creating his own false narrative.
He makes it sound like, one, that our schools are full of pornography. I think that is completely inaccurate. That is false.
And she says the images shown Wednesday need context and aren't available to really young children.
It takes a book completely out of context. And none of these books that he's talking about were in curriculum.
But according to Governor DeSantis, they were found in some school libraries.
Yeah, so again, you seen that, you heard that. I want you guys to understand the material that Ron DeSantis is taking out of schools. It's so explicit that news media had to cut the feed when Ron DeSantis played the video with the explicit material. And this alleged parent, who probably should have her laptop checked, right? Maybe Child Protective Services should, give her a call or, show up on her doorstep. But she claims that these images are being taken out of context. I'm not sure what context would make images of, boys performing sexual acts on each other. I'm not sure what context is needed there to make it appropriate for children, right? But apparently, again, these books shouldn't be banned, even though they're too explicit for the news. These books shouldn't be banned because it's lacking context, right? Ron DeSantis is not giving context. The context behind these images make it appropriate for kids. Incredible argument. So if it's not appropriate for a news channel, and who do news channels appeal to? They quite literally appeal to everybody, right? Literally everybody. If it can't be on the news, if it's too explicit for the news, why in the world do you think that it's appropriate for school? How can you make that argument? You can't make that argument. Which is why this is so genius from Ron DeSantis. This is so genius from Ron DeSantis. I love what Ron DeSantis is doing right now. Because this is how you reframe the conversation. Because as you guys noticed in that news clip that I played for you guys, a vast majority of the books that are being removed have been categorized as pornographic, right? It's straight up adult content. So now what Ron DeSantis is doing is, instead of avoiding talking about the situation as a whole, the lies that are being spread by the mainstream liberal media in regards to banning books, what he's actually doing is he's going on an offensive, which is something that Republicans suck at. He's actually saying, look, the book banning narrative from the mainstream liberal media is a hoax. This is what we're taking out of the schools. Do you agree with this being in schools? Yes or no? Right? Yes or no? And what he should do as a part of this campaign, go on The View. Say, look, I'll go on The View only if we talk about this topic and this topic only. That way, you make sure that this is what's going to be talked about. You bring the book with you, right? You bring the book with you. And then you go on live TV and you say, do you think that this right here is appropriate for kids to be reading and seeing in school? Yes or no? Because these are the books that we're banning, right? So if you don't agree with this, right, you don't agree with these images, why are you complaining, right? What is the issue then? Or you do agree with this. You do agree with kids being exposed to this type of material. And if you do, tell the world how you agree with that, right? You agree with kids being exposed to adult content. Do you think that that's going to go over well with the average everyday American? And that's why this is genius. He should quite literally unban NBC, right? MSNBC, and be like, I'll come on your network to talk about this. Go on Joy Reid's show and just have the conversation about this. Put it up there on TV and say, hey, this is what you agree with being in school, because this is what we're banning. Here are the numbers. Right? What do you disagree with? Again, it would never happen because the mainstream liberal media would never do it, right? Because they know that they're telling a lie, right? And it would openly expose them supporting adults' content being exposed to children in school. So again, the American people agree with Ron DeSantis on this. What Ron DeSantis is doing is not extreme, it's just common sense. But the way the media has framed it is that they framed it as this guy is Hitler, right? This guy is a fascist. He's just, trying to ban all books, okay? Any books written by black people, he's banning, right? It's just ridiculous. It's a ridiculous narrative. And I love what Ron DeSantis is doing in regards to fighting back, which is just saying, look, this is what we're actually banning. You agree with these type of books being in school? You think kids should be exposed to any type of book, right? No matter what it is, right? You don't think there's some books that may be inappropriate for children? A lot of people will expose themselves, right? Especially Hollywood and Democrats, because we all know what they're into, right? They're totally fine with this. This is what they want, right? They're totally cool with exposing kids to this type of stuff. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.